Good evening, gospel revolutionaries around the whole world. Welcome to this Tuesday's bonus room study. And we're coming to you right here from Clarksville, Tennessee, the Queen City. And I can't change that. It's the Queen City. We have some really wonderful news to share with you. Number one, please look this coming Friday into your inbox. You have one of the most fantastic teachings on the teachings and commandments of Christ coming in. And it is really, really quite amazing. I don't know how long this series is going to take. I see us about this time next year, possibly, still focusing on this very important issue. We have many people saying that they just simply follow the teachings of Christ. Now, the reason that is made, which you're going to find out something about following today and the next couple of Tuesday bonus room studies, the reason that they say that is to dismiss themselves from having to study. And it is a go-to that Don Bartlett would say is a declaration of intellectual laziness, I think is how our illustrious Don would have stated that, and did state that, in fact. Intellectual laziness, that was one of his pet peeves, is people being intellectually lazy. And just accepting what they hear rather than doing research. Now, we're really happy that you guys listen, and we know that we put in the work and the research. But please, some of you like challenging what we have had to say. We love it. Oh my gosh. Al Vitale called me again this week, and I know I'm about to learn something. But Al always has a question. And in his questions, I learn immense things. Just on the phone with him, I was able to recalibrate two sections of pseudographicals. And we told you when we taught that, this is not a iron fence that we've set up here. This is a template for research. Well, Al took that to heart. And by doing that, he is researching as we teach, and he brought two things to my attention that we're going to be correcting, and so glad to correct them. And you be on the watch too. Watch out for us. We're sneaky sometimes. It's not me, it's Daniel. What I want to talk to you about today, number one, you will receive a letter, if not almost simultaneously. This podcast is coming out, and also a newsletter, a standalone newsletter from me. It'll explain itself. If you have any questions, please call me. At this point, we have, at our current ability to produce, the time, the funds, everyone working. We have so many people that work on a volunteer basis to keep this going. But what we are going to do in the next year with more financing and actually paying people to be able to do things, we would be able to get done within a month. A whole year's work could be done in 1 month. Now, I want to be around as long as I can, but I'm beginning to feel the pressure, if you will, of that. I got a whole lot in here I want to get out there, and it just seems to be an avalanche of understanding that we are trying to assimilate, codify, present to you, and let you take it into your consideration. So today, this is kind of a pre-teaching to the Friday teaching that we are going to be addressing Jesus' commandment to follow him. and his first encounter with two disciples, and that was James and Andrew. And that day he called at least four of his disciples. The scriptures foretold this. It's so beautiful. You will not even be able to comprehend what you're about to hear on Friday's teaching. I'm so excited about it. It is just so amazing. On the subject of following. Now, following is certainly not a small thing. It's not a subject to be passed over lightly either. We have, that's what the whole internet is right now, is how many followers do you have? And being followers, you make the leader rich. Things have kind of switched as to what the follower is and does today. Now, the issue of and the subject of following scripturally throughout the Hebrew Scriptures and the New Testament, it's not a complicated issue whatsoever, but it can be nuanced. So we're going to try to be aware of that and cognizant of that, and do as best of a job as we can on this subject of following. Again, you will want to follow up on Friday's podcast because it is really quite amazing. So the word in the Hebrew means y'all lack. So if you're following somebody, y'all lack something. Michael humor. So y'all lack, and it means, I bet you won't forget that though. It'll be a way to remember the Hebrew word for follow is y'all lack. Y'all lack something. It actually is translated and used as the word march. It means to march, to carry, to come away. It can mean also to prosper and pursue. It also means to vanish, to be weak. And its very first time that it is used is in Genesis 24:5, and then gets repeated many times in this same subject. Genesis 24:5, it's talking about a woman following a man. And in that, you really can see the definition of this Hebrew word, because if a woman follows a man in the Hebrew scripture way, she basically vanishes away. She is saying that she is weak by following. Do you realize that when you follow someone, you are basically declaring your own weakness? I've made the statement, I'm going to repeat this over the next couple of sessions that we have, that most of you that know me know that for 20 years, I have, and 20 is probably 30, you know my math on that. For some reason, I started saying at least 20 years ago that the mark of success of this ministry will be that when I die, I have no followers. Now, I really don't know exactly why I said that more than 20 years ago, but that has been it, and it has been a goal. I want us to understand this issue and for you to be a person that is linked totally, but stand alone in your absolute knowledge and understanding. You see, it's not what I understand and know that is going to cause your mind to be renewed. It's what you know and understand is what's going to cause your mind to be renewed. So do pay attention. And I can tell you, the only thing I can tell you is that this gospel has done incredible things. I was reading something about someone the other day put a post on Facebook, and they said, I hear these people talk about nobody ever changes. And they talked about how that they had changed over the last 2 years. And they said, I just smile and chuckle because I have changed tremendously. And we still say that people don't change. What changes, though, is the degree of information and understanding you have primarily about the gospel, or wrong information that you have, whether it is of a spiritual nature or otherwise, it changes the way you view yourself, and it changes how you navigate around and through other people and situations. And you see, just because you view yourself differently and you also begin to navigate differently doesn't mean you have changed. I swear I hadn't changed a bit since I was 5 years old. But boy, have I learned something about myself, especially through the gospel. I learned something about myself by getting involved in Christianity. Daniel and I were talking about this thing of authority, and both of us were taught, now that you are men of God and you're pastoring and you're doing this and that, you got to be leaders and you have to use authority. Both of us tried that, and it just was so awkward for both of us. It just simply was not a part of us. That's something both of us gladly relinquished in coming to understand the gospel. Of course, Daniel a little more recently than myself, but the rejoicing about being away from such a doctrine that was so intuitive, that was so away from our own selves. So Daniel and I both have been finding ourselves in being able to step away from the authoritative positions of Christianity. So, like I say, in the Hebrew scriptures, the very first mention of following, it's about women. Here's something about a follower. When you follow the one that is leading, if the one leading prospers, you prosper. If the one leading gets in trouble, you're in trouble. The Pharaoh spoke about this concerning Moses and all his followers, and all of Pharaoh's decrees against Moses wasn't just to Moses, but to all of his followers. This term also means to follow. What we should be doing in following, it should be a choice. Number one, it should be definitely a choice. But too many times it is a demand, and it still has the connotation of weakness in it. There's also the nuance of following is in the fact that when you do something, there are results that follow. If you invest in something that happens to be a good, wise investment, and that turns out well, that is the following, the things that follow that wise decision. There are things that follow bad choices and decisions. But we all experience that. But what we're focusing in on is this issue of following other people primarily. And again, please click on Friday's session. It will blow your mind. It is this subject that Daniel and I are researching has captivated me. It has captivated him, and we're going to try to convey this message to you. You're going to find out some very interesting things in the next couple of sessions on this. And one of those things is that as Paul taught about following, we're taught to follow after righteousness. And then, of course, Jesus said, follow me. But remember one of the things that he said, if you're going to, one of the excuses for not following was, my daddy died and I got to go home and take care of things and bury my father. Jesus said, let the dead bury the dead. So there's something very severe. If you're going to be a dedicated and true follower, you're going to lose a part of yourself. I don't care who it is. And a lot of people, because of their misguided understanding of Christ, they think if you follow Christ, quote unquote, that you are supposed to lose yourself. That it is just the opposite to that in the understanding of the gospel and what Christ did. So the issue of following, and actually we really don't have to follow after righteousness. And those are the nuances of this that I was speaking of. We don't follow righteousness anymore. We are righteous. So there's the issue of that things that in times past we were encouraged to follow that we really don't have to follow anymore because we've become the thing. And we didn't become it because we followed it. All of the requirements of following were absolutely subdued by the death, burial, and resurrection of Jesus. And we're going to learn a whole lot more about this. I love you guys. Stay tuned for the next show.